She asked me to help her carry her whole life down 3 flights of stairs and load it into a truck that was going to take her 400 miles away from me. I said yes, because I always said yes to her. And then, standing in her empty apartment with the very last box in my arms, she leaned in close and whispered 8 words that I will hear for the rest of my life, unless you give me a reason to stay. Let me back up, because you can't understand what those words did to me unless you understand Elise. She moved into 4B 2 years ago, on a Sunday, in the rain, wrestling a couch up a stairwell by herself because the movers had canceled. I heard her swearing at it through my door for about 10 minutes before my conscience won and I came out in socks to help. We got the couch stuck on the landing, wedged completely at an angle that defied physics, and instead of getting frustrated, she just sat down on it, right there in the stairwell, and started laughing so hard she couldn't breathe, and then I was laughing too. 2 strangers sitting on a trapped couch in a rainy stairwell, and that was it. That was the beginning of everything, and I didn't even know it yet. After that, we were just in each other's lives. Her door was across from mine, close enough that I learned the rhythm of her days by sound. The click of her lock at 7:40 every morning. The music she played when she cooked, always too loud, always something with a beat that came through the wall. The specific knock she'd do when she needed something. 3 quick taps, then a pause, then one more, like a little private code. We had dinner together more nights than not. Neither of us ever called it anything. She'd knock her knock and hold up whatever she'd made too much of, and I'd wave her in, and we'd eat on my floor, because I never got around to buying a real table. We talked about everything. Her terrible boss, my dad, the places she wanted to see someday, the fact that neither of us had said I love this out loud about a single thing, including, apparently, each other. Because here's what I never told her. Somewhere in those 2 years, probably around month 3, sitting on my floor watching her steal food off my plate, I fell completely in love with Elise, and I never said a word. I had reasons. Good ones, I told myself. She was my closest friend, and I didn't want to lose that. If I said something and she didn't feel it back, I'd have to hear her lock click every morning for years knowing she was right there and I'd ruined it. The timing was never right. She was seeing someone. Then I was. Then she was again. There was always a reason to wait 1 more week. And weeks are sneaky. They turn into 2 years without ever announcing themselves. Then, on a Tuesday in September, she knocked her knock, and when I opened the door, she wasn't holding food. She was holding a piece of paper, a job offer, 400 miles away. The kind of offer you don't say no to, the kind that would change her whole life. She was glowing and terrified at the same time, and she said, "I got it. I actually got it." And I did the worst, most cowardly thing I have ever done in my life. I smiled and I told her I was happy for her. I helped her pack for 2 weeks. Every evening, boxes and tape and old photographs, and every evening a voice in my chest screaming at me to say it. To just say the thing, and every evening I taped another box shut instead. I wrapped her mugs in newspaper. I labeled her books. I built the walls of her leaving with my own hands, because I was too scared to say 400 miles is too far. Please don't. Stay because of me. And then it was moving day. The truck was downstairs. We'd carried everything down. The couch, finally free of the stairwell after 2 years, the boxes, the lamp she loved, her plants that never should have survived her. Her apartment, the one across from mine, was empty. Just bare walls and that specific echo a room gets when the life has been carried out of it. I went up one last time to grab the final box, the small one by the window, and she came up behind me. I picked it up. I turned around to say something normal, something safe. Something like, "That's the last of it," or "You've got everything." And she was right there. Closer than she needed to be. And her eyes were wet, and her voice broke a little, and she said it so quietly I almost thought I'd imagined it. "I'll get in that truck, and I'll go. Unless you give me a reason to stay." I have replayed that moment 10,000 times. The way the afternoon light was coming through the bare window. The weight of the box in my arms, the last physical thing between us. The way she was looking at me like she'd been waiting 2 whole years for me to be brave, like she'd known the entire time. Like she'd been sitting on her side of the wall listening to my locks and my life and hoping just as hard as I was. She knew. She'd always known. And she was giving me one last chance to not be a coward. I put the box down. I remember that clearly, setting it on the floor very carefully, because my hands were shaking and I didn't want to drop it. And I think the real reason was that I needed my arms free to finally do the thing I'd been too afraid to do for 2 years. And I told her the truth. All of it, in a rush, terrified she'd get in the truck anyway. I told her I fell in love with her on a rainy stairwell on a couch that got stuck. I told her I knew the sound of her lock and the rhythm of her mornings, and that I'd spent 2 years memorizing a person I was too scared to reach for. I told her that I'd taped every one of those boxes shut, hating myself. That the reason she should stay was that I could not stand in an empty room and let her leave without knowing she was, and always had been, the best part of my entire life. I told her, "Stay, please, stay, because I love you. I've loved you the whole time. That's the reason. That's the only one I've got." She didn't say anything for a second that felt like a year. Then she laughed. That laugh, the one from the stairwell, the one that made me fall the first time, half crying now, but the same laugh, and she said, 2 years. It took you 2 years and a moving truck. And I said, "I know. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot." And she said, "You are. But you're my idiot." And she kissed me right there in her empty apartment, and downstairs a truck sat with the engine off, going nowhere. She didn't take the job. I know that's not the responsible-sounding ending, and I know somebody's going to say she shouldn't have given up an opportunity for a person. But it wasn't like that. She told me later she'd already been on the fence, that the offer had made her realize what she actually didn't want to leave, and that if I hadn't said anything on that landing, she'd have gone and always wondered. The truck went back empty. We carried her couch back up 3 flights, and it got stuck on the exact same landing, and we sat down on it and laughed until we couldn't breathe. That was 3 years ago. Her lock doesn't click across the hall from me anymore, because now it's our lock, and there's a real table in the kitchen that we eat at instead of the floor. But I still think about that box I set down by the window, and what my whole life would look like right now if I just carried it down the stairs like a coward and let her drive away. So here's what I'd tell you. If there's someone whose door you'd cross a hallway for, someone whose knock you'd know anywhere, don't wait for the moving truck. Don't make them ask you for a reason to stay. The weeks turn into years faster than you think, and not everyone gets a second chance to be brave in an empty room. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is put the box down and say the thing. I almost didn't, and I would have lost everything.